Hello, my name is Gergana Denicina. I'm a certified NeuroGraphica instructor and I work as a life and business coach. Today I'm going to present to you a NeuroGraphica model called EMPATHIC CONNECTION, created in the framework of our project LadyLeader. This model is linked to the learning model Empathy and Emotional Intelligence of the LadyLeader program. I recommend that you read the presentation on our website first, as there are many references to it in the model itself and in the drawing process. So let's start. Think of an incident from the last week or month where you had a frustrating communication. For this particular model, we choose a situation where there is one other participant, that is us and the other party. Try to think and feel as much as you can within yourself what are the emotions and feelings that you experienced during that encounter, that communication. And what emotions and feelings has the other person experienced? And also, what needs stand for them? This is explained in detail in the presentation. It is very important for us to learn to name these emotions and feelings with their full palette. And the needs too. Because often what I see in my practice and what I also do is we say, something doesn't feel right here. But what exactly is not good for me? What is the emotion? What am I experiencing? What am I feeling? Now we start writing words, which is the first step in NeuroGraphica drawing. Here we divide the sheet into two. In the first column, we write me, myself. And in the second column, the other person. Now for 2 minutes, we write words related to feelings and needs, mine and the other person's. Okay, when you finish writing words, look at how many words you have written on your side and how many on the other. This can show you how much you have been able to connect with the other person. And there is no bad or good, right or wrong here. It depends on the specific situation. It's just your view and your feeling in the moment. Empathy means paying attention to the other person, listening to them, hearing them, feeling them. But, as we know, it is important to give ourselves the attention first, the empathy, the recognition of our own needs. First, it is important and necessary to feel ourselves, our emotions, our needs, to set our personal boundaries clearly, to know when our personal boundaries are violated. And just because we understand another's needs and emotions does not mean that we necessarily have to meet them. The next step, look at the two columns again and choose from each column the 3 most important words in your opinion. Could be feelings, it could be needs, what you take to be the most important. And when you are ready, we take the markers and begin to draw. I'm going to make a frame on the sheet to make it more visible. and you can draw on your whole sheet. Identify first who the two parties are in this communication. Draw them on the paper where you feel them and as you feel them. Now look at them. Feel them. See if they are connected. Do they intersect? Which one is bigger and which one is smaller, the way you have drawn them? How do the shapes relate to each other? For example, in my case, I had resistance to drawing the other side, and you see the circle turned out a little crooked and irregular. I usually draw more beautiful circles. If you want to change the size or proportion, do it now, or you can do it later. Now connect them with few neural lines and observe yourself. How do you feel while connecting the two shapes? We observe ourselves by 4 points of attention. Our thoughts, our emotions, bodily sensations, and what is the meaning for us. Now focus on yourself for a moment, and you can write down what you're feeling right now. Draw the 3 words from the first column where you feel them and as you feel them, with circles. In this case, I obviously have a lot of resistance and my circles don't turn out beautifully. See if your circles and needs connect with the other person or not. And what does that mean to you? The other person. Here, his 3 circles appeared so that one of his feelings could connect us. Our other needs have no touch points. If you feel you need to add something else somewhere in the drawing, just add. And now add more lines. Let the connection become stronger. But if you don't want to add more, don't. Think about why you don't want to add. Okay, we start with the rounding. Observe where you start. And also, as you round, think about how the shapes that you drew, those feelings or needs, influence the interaction between the two parties during the communication that was not satisfying for you. Your figures are already connected. Through which needs or feelings are they connected? If they are not connected, think about how they might be connected. Here it is very important to feel and make sense of whether you want to connect with the other. Sometimes it happens that we don't want to connect with the other person. We don't want to feel them. We don't want to show empathy. For example, this person has abruptly and rudely violated our personal boundaries. Here we explore, and our goal is not necessarily to connect and be the best, but rather the process of communicating as leaders, as this is the main topic of the Lady Leader project. It is important to learn to listen to others, to understand their needs. If we want to do something for our community, we start from finding out what the needs of our community are, how our project, our idea can help or contribute. Sometimes it's worth compromising. Put the focus on what is happening to you as you make this compromise. Sometimes it is absolutely justified and worth compromising when we are doing something for a group of people, as is our case with leadership. It is very important not to satisfy the ego of one or another of the participants, but to work to satisfy the common needs. It is important to keep in mind what we are compromising with. Because if we compromise with our core values, maybe it is not our thing, it is not our cause. Every case and every situations are completely different. Here we are exploring, and the model shows you how, through NeuroGraphica, you can do that analysis for yourself. If you have already been able to connect with the other party, think about what else you could or you would like to change in this conversation, in this particular situation. How would you like to react? What else to say? Or to remain silent, respectively not to say? And now, as you keep rounding in silence, try to sense how you feel and how the other party feels in this particular situation. You can add something if you want and feel. No, NeuroGraphica is a tool like a magic wand. With it you can satisfy the needs you have already identified. What would that look like in this case for you? Very often with individual clients and in groups, I see that people find out quite quickly and easily what they don't want, how they don't want to feel, what irritates them. But when we get to the question, what do you want and how do you feel at the moment when that need of yours is met by the other party, That's where the block appears and we fail to define. How would you like the other person to respond to your feelings and needs? And think about it very concrete. Sometimes in such situations, it turns out that the other party has responded quite well, and we don't know exactly what we want. Now let's move on to the coloring. While coloring, let's integrate these new behaviors, our new way of acting. And we remember, we observe ourselves all the time, where and how we color, how we feel, what bodily sensations we have, what thoughts. As you color, also think about which of your values are related to your emotions in that particular situation. It may have been anger. You know, anger is boundary violation. Where are your boundaries violated? What values of yours are violated there? Watch very carefully what is changing within you, what is happening within you. And also, apart from my questions, what other questions arise within you about your particular case? For example, I noticed that I first colored what connects us. And you observe both your drawing and yourself. Once you have already clarified what you would like as a result of this situation and what the situation looks like with your needs met, and once you know how you would like the other person to react, what you would like them to do to meet your needs, I'll try to assess at this point exactly how your needs are being met. What do you feel? What do you think? What emotions at this stage begin to rise up? Are they different? Or are they the same? And write them down. It's very important to name the emotions, as we already said. Then we actually truly recognize them. Now think, if this situation were to repeat itself, what specific requests according to the model of nonviolent communication you could make that would help meet your needs? How would you like to state them verbally and not non-verbally? If you have not stated them correctly, the other person may not have understood exactly what you want or what you expect. And if this is the situation, in what different way would you state them? For example, in my case, with this yellow that I started putting everywhere, I think I would want to bring a lot more light into the whole situation. At least as far as it depends on me. And for me it means that I can try to explain a little more calmly what I think is going on and what I would like. Now I suggest you get a thicker marker and as a fixation in the drawing, draw your actions in the direction of a more constructive and harmonious communication. What you could do to improve the whole case. And of course, your needs to be met. Mine looks this way, yours may look quite different. And now I find myself wanting to take a text marker and fix it even more clearly. But you see what happened. It has happened other times too. I start coloring with the text marker, it blurs the drawing, and I start to get annoyed. And here it's very important to ask myself, what does this mean for me in this particular case? That's pretty much how my communication with this person almost always goes. I start trying to explain and we reach an impasse. Also consider if this solution is satisfactory for both parties. Because going back to our main topic of leadership, when you are leading a community, no matter what you are doing and no matter what the community is, it's good to have all members of the community happy. To take decisions that are beneficial and useful for all. As field lines, I suggest that you draw the energy and the appropriate environment in which the needs of all, both yours and others, are taken in consideration and a solution is found. An option that serves for maximum satisfaction. This is the end. Thank you for being with me in this experience.